Hello, and thank you for joining me at Go Beyond Betty. I have my first guest host. Tom was kind enough to oblige me in this endeavor. Today, we are working on my favorite meat. I love brisket. Brisket is my favorite cut of beef, and beef is my favorite meat. So today is one of my favorite days. And Tom makes brisket for me pretty often. It is one of the most inexpensive cuts of beef because it's very tough, and it takes a long time to cook so that it's not tough. It's also super fatty. So I'll eventually show you what we do with all the leftover fat and things that we have, whether it's raw or cooked. But I love brisket because not only is it delicious to just eat, but we use it a lot in tacos and salads, or just, quesadillas, anything you can think of where you could put some delicious meat. It's awesome to just reach into the freezer and grab it out and have it. And Tom loves doing any kind of project meal, so I often ask for brisket. So let's get started.
Hey, good afternoon, guys. Shannon asked me to come in and do a guest appearance. So like you, I've learned from the best, right? And I've learned to take some risks in the kitchen, and that really turns into what I call project meals, right? So it could be smoking a brisket, or cooking a whole duck, or doing a standing rib roast, something like that that is just a little different and outside of the comfort zone. So today, what we're gonna do is two projects in one. So I've got a full brisket, and I'm gonna separate it. There's two muscles in a whole, what they call a packer brisket. There's the point and there's the flat. So we're gonna separate those today, and we're gonna make a brisket. We're just gonna smoke a brisket, and we'll use that for some tacos in the future. And then the other piece, the flat, we're gonna turn into a corned beef. Okay, so when we talk about a packer brisket, this one happens to be from Costco. This is, you can see, just over 13.5 pounds. It breaks down to about $3.29 a pound, so it's actually relatively cheap given the amount of meat that's in there. Costco just happens to be where we get the prime beef that Shannon's pointing out here. They do a really good job of trimming it, which is a hard feat on briskets. And you'll see on the backside, the fat cap here, ideally you want that like 1/8 to 1/4 inch at the most, right? So excess fat just kind of steals flavor, and more importantly, it steals smoke. So you want to trim that down to about 1/4 to 1/8 of an inch. They do a great job trimming it, so I may have to clean it up a little bit, but our main focus is going to be separating the point from the flat. So I'm going to open this thing up, get my work area prepped, and then I'll show you how. So we got the brisket pulled out of the packaging, patted it dry just so it's easier to work with. I also use like a paper towel or some things so that I can, kind of freshen my grip and then grab it again. So we'll talk about the muscle. This is actually two muscles, and they're separated by a seam that has a little bit of fat in it. So I flipped it since you saw it last. This is the flat, and this is the point, so it's upside down. And then on this side, I'm going to trim a little more of this fat off, but I wanted to show you that, this rippling whatever of fat in there in the point is really what breaks down and makes brisket so juicy. And then in the flat, if you think of pastrami or corned beef, it's a very long, even piece of meat that you cut into long strips. So we're going to separate the two. The easiest way to do that is to take it, put the fat side down, and then with any brisket, I think the best thing to do is to start off and take this fat ball right here and just cut that out. We're going to save all the fat that we do, but you just want to dig in there and try and cut as little meat as possible off of it. But this whole cap of fat is not really going to do a whole lot for you, right? So we're just going to peel that back so we can see the different muscles. You don't have to be precise because we're going to get pretty precise in a minute, but for now we're just pulling that fat off. And you can see it's really deep. Essentially the layer of fat that separates these two muscles kind of bulges out on the side, and that's where this little fat pocket is. So I've got two very sharp knives, one larger boning knife, and then this one's just a small sharp paring knife for when I need to get a little closer to it. So we're just going to pull that apart. And you can see how deep it goes down. All right, so I've got that fat pulled off. And what we're gonna do is you'll see this flat kind of tapers up into a point, and it's laying on top of the actual point. So we're gonna take our knife, and you can kind of see it better actually on this side. You can see how it tapers up and this fat just separates it. So we're gonna take this taper and we're gonna pull it up, and then we're just slowly gonna let the knife do the work as we pull this muscle up and trim the fat and they fall apart.
So stay tuned. Now that we have the separated point and the flat, we're going to do something with both of them. So the next few weeks, be watching for one that we're going to barbecue and one that we're going to make into corned beef. So don't let that intimidate you. Take some risks. And thank you for joining me. Stay tuned for the next episodes where Tom does some stuff with that brisket. And we'll see you next time. Bye. Today I have my first guest, Tom, my little hubby. He's not little, I shouldn't say that.